Hi everyone, I'm coming on with the coaching tip for today. So I haven't done the coaching tips for a little while, and there was a reason as to why, and there was also a reason as to why I started doing them. So I wanted to come on and just share that little journey with you, and it actually leads into what the coaching tip is for today. So the coaching tip is around the distinction between being stuck and being in service. And so for me, when I started doing the coaching tips, it really was just number one, a way for me to be of service in another way. So for those of you that may not listen to the podcast, or that may not be your jam, and you're just on Instagram and you want a couple of little stories and some hits on how to learn something new. And then, it was also a really great way for me to start practicing using my voice and being on camera and learning different parts of the technology. So, how to do a video and how to maybe turn it into IGTV, or how to get it to YouTube so that it can last longer than just on Instagram, versus how I turn it into a story, all that stuff. So it was really like a learning space for me. And then what I started to notice as I was doing it was that I felt like really great. I just was like, this is so much fun. This is so awesome. I had a little bit of resistance, a little bit of, what's the word? Maybe just resistance to doing it at first, because I think most times when we're resisting something new, it's just because we don't know it, it's new, it's uncharted landscape, and so it takes a little bit of time to get comfortable with something new. And then, like I said, I noticed that I started to feel a lot better when I was doing it. The biggest thing that I noticed was that, like, throughout my day, similar to when I first started doing a gratitude list years ago in 2004 when I first got sober, was that it made me very mindful throughout my entire day of, back when I started doing the gratitude list, of like, wow, what am I grateful for? And let me just keep track of that all day throughout the day, so that, like, in the moment during the day, I can really be present to giving gratitude instead of having to wait and keep a list at night or in the beginning of the morning. And so, that gratitude list, that kind of moved into and morphed into my morning rituals, which has, gratitude, self-forgiveness, intention setting, self-appreciation. And I have a free download for that. If you want to go grab that, you can go into the link in my bio and grab that. But, what I noticed was that there was this point as to when the coaching tips became a little bit of pressure. And so what was fascinating for me was to notice, like, oh my gosh, some of the heart and some of the service and some of the joy is starting to, like, move out of it, and there's, like, some of this pressure energy that's starting to come in. And so it was just so cool to watch my own process around that, of like, oh wow, like, I'm feeling like it has to be good, or it has to be special, or it has to, like, really help people. And so as soon as I started to notice some of that energy coming in on what it was I was doing, which was really like a place to be of service and for me to learn and solidify my own learnings, I pulled back from it so that I could make sure that I just was, like, cleaning up and clearing up any of that energy. And so I moved through my own process that I share with one-on-one clients, that I share with my group clients, which was really about, like, identifying any of the stories, any of the beliefs, any of the old thought patterns, any of the old, like, attachments, and moving myself through self-forgiveness, and then being able to come out on the other side of it and coming to the truth. And so when I took that space back, I also was very curious and, like, wanted to look at myself from above as to, what does it feel like when I'm not doing these coaching tips? What's that energy like? And so once I moved out of it, I just was able to see, wow, it was similar to that gratitude list, that when I did not have that intention throughout my day of, like, what can I learn today from coaching my clients? What can I learn today from doing healing sessions? What can I learn today from my own personal experience? And how can I share that with others at the end of my day? I noticed there was this, it was a little bit of, like, a disconnect and a little bit of a stuck energy, just kind of like a stagnant energy. Like, it didn't feel like it was moving the same way that it was when I was doing the coaching tips. And so for me, it was just this amazing like aha and learning moment of like, wow, the coaching tips, yes, they are for others. And yes, it's to share this information, and hopefully it lands with one person each time I share it. But really, like, it was really of service to me too. And so I'm sharing this story because I work with a lot of coaches, I work with a lot of energy healers and light workers and individuals that are starting their own businesses and starting their own thing. So there's several different coaching tips that are going to come out of this story. And the first one really is about being stuck versus serving. So being stagnant versus serving. And so when you're in an energy of stuck or stagnation, it's really because whatever is inside of you is not coming out. It doesn't have a platform or a canvas or a space to come out, and it needs that. It needs you to do that for it. So when you're stuck and you're stagnant, it's because usually there's something that's not coming out. And then what I've noticed is that when we move into serving, when I move into serving, when my clients or friends move into serving, it completely shifts the energy so that you're not only really learning for yourself, but then you're also being able, having a space to share what it is that you're learning with others. And that just starts to move energy, and it starts to clean out that stagnation and that stuckness. What also happens in service is that it's a very high energy. It's a very loving and light-filled energy, because it's not about you. It's like just a space to come out of you. And so, when I think about any of these, like, spiritual practices or spiritual traditions or groups, oftentimes one of the key components to a lot of these like spiritual communities, whether it's a 12-step or a Buddhist or a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu or a yoga or a breath work or a coaching, is that when it has that energy of I'm here to be of service, there is just so much love that like pours out of that. And so really for you to be able to look at, where is your energy stuck? What is inside of you that is not able to come out yet? And how can you move that into a place of service and sharing all of the experiences and the beauty and the light that you are? And so just drawing on a particular client that this happened with, that I thought of, was around, her having all of this information and all of this wisdom, and yet it wasn't really being shared. It wasn't being expressed. It wasn't getting out there in the world. And so like my number one business strategy when we were doing coaching for that person was like, how can you start sharing all of this amazing information that you have inside of you that's special to you, but that you think everybody else knows, but they might not know it? Or maybe a lot of people know it, but maybe there's still a handful of people that don't know it. So just share that information and serve those people. And then out of that has started to blossom this really beautiful social media presence and an experience of sharing all of this wisdom. And people are responding and saying like, this is my favorite thing to watch. This is my favorite thing to experience. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing. This is so helpful. And then that has this amazing feeling of not only making others feel great, but it makes you feel great too, because you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm connected. I'm in my purpose. I'm doing what I was put here to do on this earth. So for those of you that are feeling stuck, that are feeling stagnant, that are not really sure what to be doing with your energy, find a way to start being of service, and it will radically shift your experience. Peace and blessings.